This week on the Honor Roll podcast, we'll explore what it's like to go outside of your comfort zone to spend an entire semester abroad studying in the United Kingdom as part of the Honors Semester in Exeter program. Coming up next. Hey Honors Bulls, welcome to the Honor Roll podcast, the flagship podcast of the Judy Genshaft Honors College podcast network. I'm your host, Fabiana, Requena, a third-year student studying marketing and business analytics. As always, we like to start the podcast off with one big question. So my question this week is, have you ever lived anywhere else in the world? Honestly, for so many of us, when we move away to college, it's our first time leaving home. For me, I grew up in Clearwater, Florida, and then went to Miami for my first year of college. And for the first time, I was really on my own without knowing anyone. I really wasn't too far from home, but at the same time, I felt like I was in such a new environment. Here at USF and at the Honors College, I feel like we have so many international students who move so much further away and have a completely different experience to those moving just from state to state or within the state. I also kind of came to the realization of how your environment comes to shape you, because you really do get to absorb the culture and the people around you when you spend such an extended period of time somewhere. And today's episode covers just that, the opportunity to live in a different space for an entire semester. Joining us today, we have honor students Reva Gandhi, Jamie Powers, and Breno Dantas, along with Dr. Benjamin Scott Young, who will be talking about their firsthand experience living abroad in Exeter, England, through the Honors Semester Abroad program. Important trip details, travel tips, and fond memories coming up next.
Hi, my name's Amanda Jakubowski, and I am a 2022 Honors College alum. My favorite Honors College memory was going to the Dominican Republic. I always knew that I wanted to go into healthcare, and I'd been learning Spanish since I was a little kid, but I never really got the chance to go anywhere where Spanish was the primary language. So I got to live with a host family there and make such good connections in the community there that I still talk to today. And I also got to go into the clinic and get a lot of firsthand experience, and getting to see what healthcare was like outside of the United States was something that I never thought I'd get the chance to do.
Hey Honors Bulls, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Honor Roll podcast. Today we will be talking about the Honor Study Abroad program to Exeter, England. Today I'm here with honors students Jamie Powers, Reva Gandhi, and Breno Dantas, who spent the 2024 spring semester studying abroad at the University of Exeter in the UK. We are also joined by Honors Associate Professor of Instruction, Dr. Benjamin Scott Young, who leads the honors semester in Exeter Trip, where he also teaches courses Flourishing and Wonder, Wander, and Belonging. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Reva. I'm a third year at USF studying biomedical sciences and public health, with hopes to enter the medical field in the next couple of years.
Hi guys, I'm Breno. I'm a junior. I study industrial engineering here at USF.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm also a third year studying microbiology and criminology.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Young, and I'm a faculty member here in the Honors College, and I've been teaching here since, I think, 2008, and I love it. I love working with students over the years, so it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to take these students over to Exeter, so happy to be here to talk about it.
Awesome, thank you so much. So, the Semester in Exeter program invites honor students to a half-year immersive faculty-led study abroad experience in the United Kingdom. Students explore English culture, storied landscapes, and embark on a journey of self-discovery, belonging, and authentic leadership. Throughout their time in the United Kingdom, students will live the life of an English university student by taking courses at the University of Exeter, explore the cities, towns, and countryside of England on weekly honors faculty-led excursions. Dr. Young, can you give us an overview of the trip?
Sure. So the semester in Exeter is really an extension in many ways of the Judy Genshaft Honors College curriculum. You know, we think of ourselves as offering students an opportunity to cultivate practical skills that combine their disciplinary specialties with the practical skills of working with others in teams dynamically with emergent problems and to think in unanticipated ways. Doing so means cultivating a dexterity of understanding in a broad sense, not only with others, but also an understanding of yourself, an understanding of culture, an understanding of world, an understanding of the nature of understanding generally. And there's really no better way to come to terms with what it is to be an experiencing human being than to travel and study abroad.
Yeah.
And to live abroad especially, because you are constantly confronting new unanticipated experiences, new things that sort of just pop out at you. You're in this sort of wide attention, and really it's a bit like a child being at play.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're in a state of learning. And so what is the semester at Exeter about? It's about intensifying those experiences of learning so that we can capture them and come to understand them better, and to begin to shape our own lives in terms of that understanding. And there's no better place to do that than someplace like Exeter and Devon in the UK.
Absolutely. It's such a gift if you have the opportunity to be able to study abroad. Now, Reva, Jamie, and Breno, can you tell us why you chose to go on this trip specifically?
I chose Exeter because that was one of the only options that the Honors College offers that is a 6-month-long program. And I wanted to study abroad for a long time, as much as possible. And I thought that if I was there for just a week or just a month, I wouldn't be able to learn as much as in a full semester.
Be as immersed in the culture and the people and the learning experiences. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was also attracted to the duration of it. Me, Reva, and another girl that went on the program, Brooke, were in Dr. Young's AOK class, our first semester in college. And so we were exposed to the information about the program from like the moment we stepped into college. And we would go to dinner after each class together and talk about the program and how cool it would be to be in another country for that long. And I was a little bit hesitant because it's so long and I would miss my family, but the consensus between us was kind of like we would regret it for the rest of our lives if we didn't make this jump.
And just to add on to that, there was just something so magical and appealing about specifically going to the UK. Obviously, at the time, none of us really understood where Exeter was, and eventually we did figure it out. But in the process, it was just this thrill of going to England and spending 6 months in England, which is unlike where you can find anywhere else in the world. I think the location made a huge impact on our decision.
And the language too, just to add to that. First thing for a semester, you don't want to, you not necessarily want to learn a whole new language. So the language, English there is different, but it's still the same thing.
Right. And you're saying you spent, 6 months there and you obviously had to do some preparations for the trip. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Most of the preparation was in getting all of the paperwork done for the trip. But after that was done, it was really just about looking, since the language is the same, like Breno said, it was really about just making sure, doing research about what is considered rude in the UK or what is things not to take offense to. People don't really say hi to you on the street in England. And I feel like if I didn't do research about that before I went, I would be really offended. But since the language was the same, it was kind of just about preparation with manners and making sure that all of our classes are set for the credits.
On that note, did any of you experience any kind of cultural shock while you were there for the first time?
The student life is very different. The semester there is just 11 weeks in comparison to here. Here, I think it's 15 weeks. So in the beginning, they don't have exams, they don't have quizzes, no homework. By the end of the semester, that's when they have to submit their group work and they actually start working and studying for finals. So just the lifestyle there is very different.
And I think going off of that, the weather definitely contributed to it because obviously we're in Florida and it's hot all the time and we're very used to the rain. But what we're not used to is the quick changing pace of the weather in the UK. It'll rain, it'll hail, and it'll be sunny all within 5 minutes, which is crazy. But I think that definitely played into us adjusting there. as well as the fact that everything there does close earlier in the day. Everything's pretty much closed by like 5 o'clock. So if you want to go shopping for things, you got to do it in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Dr. Young, you not only oversee the trip, but you also teach courses. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you teach?
So the first course, Wonder, Wander, and Belonging, which is the course that every student who's on the program takes, is really the core place where we tell the story of the program. And it's that which we attach all of our excursions out into England to and make sense of. So just the rhythm of the class is actually helpful here. So the first 3 semesters or 3 months, we students take courses at the University of Exeter and also courses with me. Then they have a month off in April, and then in in May and June, that's when we do a lot of our longer, extended excursions. But during January, February, March, that's on Wednesdays. Every afternoon we go out and we explore England. So we meet one day in the classroom on Tuesdays, one day on Wednesdays in the afternoons. We go out for 3 or 4 hours, explore the town, something relatively close that time of year, and then we oftentimes have dinner together after that. Eating together is a big part of the program. Nice. And then the other class meets on Thursday, and so you do have a lot of time on your own from Friday till Monday on the weekends. But the whole experience, everything that's happening outside of the classes, is actually part of the class, and we get to digest all of those insights from the experience in Wonder, Wander, and Belonging.
Wonderful. And then for you students, what courses did you take on your time there in Exeter?
I think the 3 of us took both of the courses. Yeah.
I took Wonder, Wander, and Belonging and Flourishing with Dr. Young. And then with the University of Exeter, I took Metabolism and a creative writing workshop. The creative writing workshop was out of what classes I usually take, but that was sort of an opportunity for me to take a class that I wouldn't be able to take here because it wouldn't fit into my electives the way that it would here.
Absolutely. What kind of things did you enjoy about that class in particular?
I really liked how, because there was obviously writing, but there was a lot of sharing of writing, and so I got to know my British classmates really well by what they wrote, and I felt like I was able to write stories that expose them to parts of American culture, and they would say to me about how they didn't know that they liked some of my stories for the pure reason that I was able to describe situations that they had never heard about before.
Right. So just the different cultural experiences.
Right. And I didn't anticipate that would taking the creative writing class would provide me with that cultural exchange. So that was nice.
Yeah. I took both of Dr. Young's classes, and I also took a class called Management and Leadership, where I learned a lot about the UK law and how companies use management and leadership to develop. I also took entrepreneurship technology, where I had to come up with a new product, a technological product, and write a business plan and how the company would grow. And I also took a class called Manufacturing Systems, and that was really nice because I'd have to be taking this class now this semester, but I already took it.
Yeah, similarly, I took both of Dr. Young's classes, and then I took 2 anthropology courses through the University of Exeter, Food and Culture, and then a class called Disability and Society. And that class was really cool because it brought out the healthcare disparities between really all over the world, but it really tied into the aspect of the grass is greener on the other side. Because I remember one thing that really impacted me was we were talking about public transportation and the accessibility. And in the UK, public transport is such a big thing. And they were constantly talking about how it's not accessible for all people, which to a certain extent is true depending on where you live. But I was comparing it to the US, And I was like, we don't have public transport at all here. And I think that class really brought out the differences between the US and the UK in ways that it wasn't intended to, which was really interesting for me.
Right, absolutely. You're able to see like what the problems that we face here and how they face problems in the similar manner. Can you all tell me about like your favorite excursion that you had during your Exeter trip? Like, I imagine that you had the opportunity to travel to a lot of different places while you were there. So did you have one in particular that you liked the most?
We were actually we hung out last night and we were talking about this last night. My favorite excursion was Dartmoor, and I really liked that one because of, obviously Dartmoor is beautiful, but I really liked that one because of the conversations we had and how much we laughed. Breno's girlfriend was actually visiting on that one, and so we were getting to know her, Bruna. So that was fun to have her there, and also we just laughed a lot on that excursion. It was beautiful and it was fun.
Yeah, we had a very nice walk that day by the lake, and it was very fun. It was very beautiful. It was in the middle of the nature, and it was very nice. My favorite excursion, I would say, was St. Ives. I think was the last one I went to.
Yeah.
And it was very nice walking by the cliffs and seeing the water hitting the rocks. That was very beautiful.
My favorite excursion was Linton and Lynmouth, just because I love being outside, and I think that one connected me the most to nature. And it was, I think, one of the more challenging walks we had been on, but there was something really cool about that because we kind of ended up laughing about how different this was from the other experiences we had had in the past, while also having really great conversations along the way, and we shared a really good meal together, which was amazing.
Dr. Young, you have traveled there many times, so can you tell us a little bit about things that you learn about each time going?
Sure, but let me answer the first question, because I loved all of those excursions. I particularly loved the meal we had at the Bull Inn, which again involved a lot of laughter, but it was also a really, really sort of just rich conversation. I feel like that was the moment when, at least from my part, you guys had been friends and living together for a long time at that point. But I felt sort of a bonding with you all at that moment. From that point on, I felt like the rhythm of our conversations changed a bit, and I loved playing cards on the train, a long train ride home from St. Ives. It was a lot of fun. I've learned that the most important conversations happen outside of the classroom, typically on the train, typically over meals, usually when we're walking, when there's maybe 2 or 3 of us have gathered together. The conversations that obviously students have without me there, but then the way that shows up and feeds back into the conversations within the course. Over the years, I've tried to enhance that quality, so focusing less on the in-class portion, but really focusing on what the actions happening outside of class, and everything we're doing in class really is preparation for the real action outside of class.
Right. And so you have a long time to bond with each other. You have this opportunity to really grow a family together. What is it like coming back home and not being with each other constantly?
Yeah, we were a group of 11, so we had 2 apartments. Each apartment had 8 rooms, so we were split 5 and 6. And I didn't used to live with either of these 2, but we're always taking trips every week. We're planning something. We're always eating out, watching movies together. But then when all of us came back, that was summer. We went back to our families, and now the semester is starting. We are seeing each other again. So I'm not sure how we're going to keep seeing each other for the next month or the end of this month, but it's definitely a very big difference than how it used to be last semester.
Yeah, I feel like we knew that we had created a bond while we were there, but we didn't really realize how big of a bond until we came back and we weren't around each other anymore. But when we hang out now, it's I think it's also special because it's like we have to go out of our way to hang out with each other. When in Exeter, we would just go across the hall and we would be with each other. So yeah, it's sad, but it's also like, we'll remember this experience forever. So I think we'll be bonded forever through that.
Yeah, but I think it's also really special because when we are hanging out, it doesn't feel like we haven't seen each other in 3 months. It feels like we were hanging out yesterday, still in Exeter, which I think is special. And I think that attests to a lot of the bonds. And it's interesting because going back to our classes, we talked a lot about a lot of things, the 3 big themes being food, field, and friendship. And during class, we'd kind of understand what was happening, but not fully comprehend it. And then the next day, we'd be talking about something totally random. And we'd be like, oh, Dr. Young would say this. Or this relates to this. And we'd put the pieces together in a way that you wouldn't expect us to put the pieces together. But I think that helps specifically with the storytelling of our cohort. And I think there's the specialty of making that beauty of, making the meaning of the phenomenology and the themes of the course via each other rather than through a textbook or something like that. And you can still see it when we talk today because we'll easily pick up themes that we had in the class.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Reginald Lucian. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Success at the Judy Genshaft Honors College. Being an honors administrator, I take great responsibility in supporting the initiatives in the college that support student success. One of the roles that I play is obviously supporting our academic advising team, which I think is crucial to the success of our students. We want our students meeting with our academic advisors. So in my role, I make sure that our advising initiatives are properly supported by the college and the resources are available to students to have access to their academic advisors.
And this is kind of relating a little bit more to Exeter itself, but can you tell us a little bit about, you mainly resided in the city of Exeter. What was it like? And what do you feel like were the biggest differences between living there and living here back home?
I would definitely say walkability in Exeter. Barely any students have a car, so you have to walk everywhere, and that's a big difference. You take the train to go to other cities, and there are a lot of hills, so you have to really be ready to go to places, and yeah, that's it.
Socially, there's a much bigger pub culture there, so people went out on weeknights, and we would we would go to one pub, and then that would start dying down, and so we'd go to another one, and it was just like we would just sit and talk and laugh. So that we don't really do that here where we go out every night, and so yeah,
have the opportunity to like sit outside and talk. I love that about the culture where it's like you just sit outside, you get drinks, you're just like you're there for many hours.
Yeah, I remember the end of one of the excursions we took. It ended a little early than it was supposed to. So we took the train back, and then we were walking back to the apartment, and we saw a lot of people in the pub in a Wednesday afternoon. You're like, we should join them. You just pick a table and sat there.
Did you
was
guys
hanging out for a while. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, perfect.
That was one of the ones that was like the Imperial.
Yeah.
It's they have picnic tables outside on the lawn. So.
It's really a beautiful time of year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it starts out kind of dark and cold, but it rapidly gets warmer and brighter. And by the time March comes around, sitting outside, having good conversations. There's places everywhere, cafes, and it's really beautiful. Flowers are blooming everywhere. It's a good time of year for just that thing.
Yeah. And so you're in Exeter, but you're in Europe. You have the opportunity to travel. Are there any places that you went outside of the United Kingdom?
There were many places that I traveled to. I was very lucky because I didn't have classes on Monday. And on Friday, I think I had just one in the morning. So it was very easy for me to just take a train, go to an airport and buy like a $40 ticket to round trip to go to any place.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to 15 different countries. Many of them I went by car. So if you can just go to, let's say, Munich, get a car there and travel to Austria, Italy, Switzerland. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to travel. And there are many places nearby. You can just take a train to London. You can take a train to Cardiff. You can take, as I said, a $40 round trip ticket to Dublin. So there are many opportunities for you to go to different places.
Wasn't any of them that, stood out to you in particular that you like the most?
I really loved Barcelona.
I would love to go.
I went during the summer, so you had a very nice weather. The city is beautiful. The people just look happy there, so I loved it.
I went to, so in April we have no classes, so I went to Versailles, France with my mom, and then we also went to Amsterdam for my birthday. And when I got back, me, Brooke, and Reva went to Italy, and the next month, me, Brooke, and Reva also went to Scotland.
Wow, you were all over the place.
Yeah, we did a lot of traveling because before I met up with Jamie, I did some independent travel before the trip began with my family. And then I came back, and with Brooke, I went to Barcelona also. So I highly recommend it. That's probably one of my favorite cities. And then Austria in April was gorgeous. It was honestly more beautiful than I was expecting it to be. And I think that attests to just get out of your comfort zone and go to places that you don't think you would like, because I think Austria was probably my favorite place that I'd ever been.
On that note, can you tell me about something that had the biggest impact on you, like what you felt like you learned the most about studying abroad, about being in a new place for 6 months?
I would say perseverance for sure. There's a lot that goes into both the preparation and while you're there. And I think it's really important to ask questions, communicate, but really just keep going because it really is worth it. Figuring out flights, especially if you're going with friends, can be challenging at times. And I think we had really good communication and we were able to plan it out ahead of time, and the whole trip was really not stressful at all. And even prior to the trip, there is, as Jamie mentioned earlier, there was a lot of paperwork that we had to do. And I think staying on top of that and really just talking to Dr. Young, he has great advice for all of that sort of stuff, and communicating with study abroad. And once you're there, you forget a lot of it. It's almost like it doesn't exist, but
it's worth it.
It is worth it. So yeah, just persevere, keep going. And once you're there, just try to live in the moment.
One of the things I wanted to comment about was something you were saying a second ago. What makes this program special in many ways is the extent to which you do have the opportunity to travel to so many different countries. There's research opportunities on campus at the University of Exeter. You have housing the entire time. You can stay there. But if you're inclined to travel, as Breno said, for £40 you can get a ticket. And there are places to stay that are inexpensive. So you can get around Europe fairly easily, and so you get many different adventures, and it's really choose your own adventure within this program, and that's one, I think, really unique and special opportunity for the student who really wants to incorporate travel as part of their undergraduate experience.
I'll ask you all of this. Do you have a fondest memory? Could you pinpoint a particular memory that was your favorite?
I would say that my favorite memory from Exeter was when we were coming back from one of our excursions. We were in a train together. We were playing cards with Dr. Young, and somebody did a move in the game that really matched with Dr. Young. And I was like, hey, do you want to get a nap in this class with him? And we were just laughing and had a great time coming back. We're all very tired because it was after a really long excursion. We're all just enjoying ourselves and having some fun together.
There's a few. I liked the Dartmoor excursion, but I also, one of my fondest memories that's coming to mind right now is when we used to go and watch soccer games at the pub, and there was one particularly important game for one of the people in our program, Liam, and one of the teams was Germany, and every time that they would mess up, he would start speaking in fake German. And so
it was the Champions League final, by the
way. Yeah. So and Breno was encouraging his rowdiness, so that was a good memory. Me, Brooke, and Reva just sitting back and watching the two of the boys egg each other on.
Yeah, I would have to say that was probably more interesting than the game itself. I couldn't tell you who won, but I do remember that night very clearly. Mm-hmm. But my favorite memory was probably staying in. We bought a soccer ball, and I remember one night, it was probably the first warm night, and we had gone out, and we were out there for, I think, 3 to 4 hours. It was pitch black outside, and we just tossed around a soccer ball and an American football. And I remember the looks we got from all the British people for having an American football there. But we didn't care. We were really just living in the moment. There was a lot of laughs, a lot of running. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like having American football is sacrilege there.
Well, British people came in and wanted to use it.
Oh,
they
really?
came in,
Okay.
yeah, took it and used it. So I think they were making fun of us. Honestly, in hindsight, they may have been making fun of us. But yeah.
It's something we don't get to do here at USF. We don't get the opportunity to be outside of the classroom as much as we are there. Mm-hmm. The whole class essentially takes place outside of the class. We meet every week, but that's in some sense like just getting our logistics down, right, and some basic concepts. But the real action happens in the conversations dynamically outside of class, and we just have the opportunity to think together on the street while going to some incredible cultural sites, incredible natural landscapes, and also Exeter it really is an international place. You have a lot of people from all over the world in the city. You feel connected to the whole globe when you're there, and yet at the same time, it's relatively small, and it's in a really beautiful part of England. If you asked me today, where would you like to live in England? Hands down, I'd want to live in Devon or Cornwall. It's really, really to me the best option you have over in that part of the world. So yeah, it's this ability to be in the classroom briefly and then out in the world together that I think is the essence of really great education. And it doesn't really matter what the discipline. It's really about the experiences and highlighting those experiences. And the theory comes along with it. We teach ourselves theory at the end of the day, but the experiences are best done together.
Thank you.
And adding on to that, Exeter, because of its big international population, they're so welcoming to everybody here. Every week, except for April, we all pretty much went to this weekly or bi-weekly gathering, and it was called Intercultural Cafe. So it was for all of the international students, and we'd basically be served a coffee and a pastry, and there'd be some sort of activity where you could interact with other international students, or just talk amongst yourselves. And it was a great way to meet new people and find out different things to do. The person leading it, Sue, is really open, she's really friendly, and she's very talkative. And she will be willing to answer any and all of your questions. So she's always a great resource, and I highly encourage any future student going to Exeter to go to Intercultural Cafe.
But I remember you mentioning that you did a few. You actually all may have been involved in student organizations. I can't remember all the ones that you were involved with, but I remember you mentioning in particular one event. So I know you were in one. So, but I'm curious. Can you describe what it was like to get involved in some of those student organizations that you were involved with?
Yeah. So here at USF, all of the student organizations are free to join, but in Exeter, to start, you have to pay like a membership fee. Mm-hmm. They're pretty cheap, like £15, and then you get to go to their events. And I joined the volleyball club. I went to the practice twice a week, and they had like a gathering at a pub every month, so I joined them. And I also joined the Pick Up and Play. That was a very nice organization that they provide opportunities for everybody to just go and play random sports. So Reva and I, we went kayaking once. It was very fun. It was kind of like competitive kayaking. So it is the type of kayak that like turns very fast, and it's really hard to stay in it. And we play like catch the ball and many different games, and also bench ball that everybody in our cohort joined. And that's a game that is non-existent here in the U.S., but it's a big thing there. It's like dodgeball for them, and we had a lot of fun together.
I went to Body Sock, which the Body Society, and so they would have free or not free, you have to join the society, but they would have fitness classes. So I would do yoga in that once a week, and they also had, like Pilates classes that I tried to get into, but they would fill up pretty quickly. But yeah, bench ball was the main society that I was involved with. So
yeah. I also got involved a lot in bench ball, and then I joined the yoga society, which was a lot of fun because they have something for all levels, which was really fun, and they really get in depth and teach you like the history behind yoga as well as the practice itself. So that's great.
Dr. Young, what is something that you learned from your students on this trip?
I spent a lot of time telling a story about Exeter, and I think about education generally, that what matters oftentimes the most decisive thing in terms of the experience of being alive, being human, is having authentic relationship with what you think is most important, and having that clearly in your mind so that you can make decisions, and you have to make many important decisions across your life. And if you can develop that authentic relationship, then you can really have an important impact on the world, no matter what your discipline, what your profession is. But that's really a crucial piece of the puzzle. And I spent a lot of time talking about the importance of cultivating that generally, and I really have built the Exeter program around trying to make a fertile ground for students to come into their own in that authentic relationship. And I'm always impressed to the extent to which students are in some ways already there. Mm-hmm. And I'm always feel very privileged when they show themselves to me, and we get to be friends. And so I learn actually the thing I talk about, I actually learn from students ultimately.
And for all of you, what advice would you have for students listening who are interested in looking to apply to the Exeter program or really to any study abroad program here at the Honors College?
Get out there, meet new people. There are so many cool orgs, especially at Exeter. I can't speak for the other study abroad programs, but at Exeter, there's so many organizations. Get out there. It's so easy to meet people, and you will find your people. There were people that I still text to this day about things that we did in Exeter. So really just put yourself in a situation that you wouldn't do here, because you're not going to be abroad again in the way you are now.
Yeah. And Dr. Young, what do you hope students will take away ultimately from this experience?
An increased sense of confidence in their capacity to respond with vitality to the inevitable changes, fundamental changes in the story of our lives. That we are creatures that have the great privilege and also the corresponding vulnerability of shaping ourselves through narrative and story. And those stories need to change, and oftentimes in very unexpected ways. And I hope that students come away from the program both anticipating that, but feeling a deep sense of confidence that they can meet those challenges when they come.
Absolutely. If you have the opportunity to study abroad, absolutely do it. And I'm sure you can all attest to that, whether it's in Exeter or any other study abroad program. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
back in the studio, and wow, what an amazing interview. I loved hearing about how they were truly able to interact with a completely different culture, regardless of having the same language, and how they were able to immerse themselves into this new country for 6 months. I mean, if you have the opportunity to go to Exeter or to be in any study abroad program, I would highly recommend it, and I would love to do the same. And I absolutely love Dr. Young's point about the importance of being true to yourself, finding yourself, taking the time to learn about yourself, and being a genuine person to others. If you'd like to learn more about this study abroad program or any others, visit our website at usf.edu/honors for upcoming events, updates, and news. And that'll do it for this week's episode. The Honor Roll podcast is recorded in the Judy Genshaft Honors College at the University of South Florida Tampa campus. Production assistance is provided by honors student Sandra Napolitano. Thank you all so much for listening, and please don't forget to rate and review our podcast as we appreciate your feedback. Please join us next week where we hear more honor stories and talk to more members of the Judy Genshaft Honors College. Until next time, go Bulls!